Good afternoon, everyone. Boy is going to be a tough act to follow. He's much more exciting than I am, but we'll try our best. Plus, we're not sure if the technology works, right? Okay. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. The question I'm here to ask you, and it's a dangerous question for anyone who is in business, I suppose, is nowadays, is it enough for a company just to be profitable? That's rather boring compared to the last topic, but that is the question I'm here to ask today. So, I'm sure lots of businesses would say yes. The technology is slow. I'm sure lots of businesses would say yes or yes, especially those folks that are busy chasing that all-important metric, quarterly earnings. But let's see how well that served us so far. According to Oxfam, by the end of this year, the wealthiest 1% of the world will own more than the rest of the world combined. 1%. Put in a Philippine context, 50 individuals, so let's just say not even the entire front row, maybe half of the front row, took more than half of the growth of this entire country in 2014. And two of you, so let's say you two in the front, you took 6% of the entire country's economy in 2014. I'm super happy for you, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm really worried about is everybody else, especially the 25% or more that live in poverty. This is what Pope Francis called the exclusion economy, where the rich are becoming much, much richer, and the poor are just finding it harder and harder to make ends meet every day. There's nothing wrong with making money. There really isn't. But when the wealth gap becomes so disproportionate that you have widespread economic, political, and social unrest, not to mention the wholesale damage to the environment, I don't think business as usual is the way to go. So, what I want to focus on today is what I think is a solution towards a more equitable growth. Okay, towards a more equitable growth. In recent years, there have been some companies that have been shining a light on new ways to do business. And I like to call these guys corporate stewards 2.0. What these guys do is what Michael Porter calls shared value and what APEC called inclusive growth. And basically what it is very simple. It's businesses making a decision to do something other than make money. So what I'd like to do is show you Profit Plus. So we've already seen that businesses know how to make money. I've been to places in the Himalayas that have no toilets, but somehow they have Coca-Cola. So what if you take these big, efficient companies and you take those same skills and apply them towards solving really big problems? I'm going to show you examples of two companies that are moving in this direction. The first is Starbucks. Starbucks asked the same question a few years ago. Howard Schultz asked the same question a few years ago. What is the responsibility of a for-profit company? And what they decided is that it was to look at business through the lens of humanity. And what they decided to do were these things. They decided to source their beans 100% ethically. That decision alone impacted millions of people along their supply chain, starting with the farmers. They committed to lending money to these communities. They invested in being more energy efficient and more water efficient, committing to renewable power. They provide opportunities for all their employees to get a college degree online. They invest in veterans, the communities, community service, and they do something which I really love, which is called the Beanstalk program. And the Beanstalk program allows employees to share in the success of Starbucks. So let's say, for example, one of their employees might be able to put a down payment on a house or buy a car simply because they had access to Starbucks stocks, something they would not have been able to do otherwise. So, despite all of these goals, Starbucks was able to achieve record financial performance in that year. And record financial performance means they benefited shareholders, but they also benefited their employees and their suppliers and the communities they live in, plus the environment. This is a real attempt at inclusive growth. The second example is Vodafone. Vodafone did something truly transformational in Kenya. They started what's called M-Pesa, and M-Pesa basically means mobile money. And the program was initially set up to facilitate the microfinance industry so that they could lend money to and collect easily from the poor. But what happened was amazing. They wound up getting almost 20 million subscribers. That's almost every adult in Kenya became a subscriber of M-Pesa. And so this service wound up spurring the creation of thousands of small businesses. The poorest in Kenya, all of a sudden, especially women, could all of a sudden engage in business, not only because it was now affordable, but also because it was accessible. You don't find ATM branches or bank branches on every corner in Kenya. All of a sudden, they had the ability, the tool to create business. And so this ability to transact not only increased household incomes, but it increased the ability of people or children to go to school more. It decreased the incidence of hunger. It decreased the incidence of illness. All because people were able to send money and receive money quickly. Why is this important? This is important because Vodafone is not a charity. They're a business. They're making money. The difference is they decided to create a product that empowers the poor, to empower the bottom of the pyramid. And any time that you spur growth in the bottom of the pyramid, or even just the bottom 40% of any population, that's where you find the real engines of robust economic growth. So today it's estimated that as much as 43% of Kenya's entire economy is transacted through M-Pesa. 43%. That is shared value. What these companies and others like them have had is a paradigm shift. They've moved from corporate social responsibility to creating shared value. And the difference between these two are actually very simple. At least I think so in my experience. CSR tends to be more like philanthropy. It's externally motivated. It's when companies say, well, we want to be seen as doing the right thing. We want people to think we're the good guys. So let's support a charity, right? That's what CSR is. It's great. It's a great first step, but it doesn't solve really big problems. Now, if you move towards shared value, when companies have that paradigm shift into shared value, it becomes internally motivated rather than externally. It's when companies realize that investing in your employees or creating a product that empowers the poor, or maybe it's just paying your taxes, is actually good for business in the long run because collectively these things build robust economies, and robust economies are good for business. Now, the good news is I actually believe that this evolution towards inclusive growth has a good chance to scale and change the world. And it's not because I am naive. I actually have a hypothesis here. I believe it can happen because of you guys, the millennials. You are the most educated, diverse, connected, socially conscious, and progressive generation to date. You millennials. You care about the companies you work for. You want them to further your values. According to Deloitte, 77% of collected millennials. More than half of you care about the products you buy. You want to know that the companies you buy from are doing the right thing. And 73% of you believe that it's possible to make money in a profit-plus environment. You are demanding more. Your generation expects more from the companies you work for, the companies you invest in, and the products you buy. You are holding this world accountable, and companies are listening. So much so that the top business schools in the world are having to adjust their curriculum because you want to have courses that fit your desire to create social change. I can speak personally to this because clearly I'm not a millennial. And when I was graduating, everybody wanted to be an investment banker because that's where the money was, or a management consultant because that's where the money was. But today, we receive hundreds of resumes. And sometimes we think that Caliber somehow had a glitch and accidentally sent them to us. But we actually receive hundreds of resumes from young people who know exactly what they want. Make no mistake, these people want to change the world. They want to know that the companies they work for represent their desires and hopes for this world. That is powerful. Even if half of you become disillusioned along the way, that's still a whole lot of people. A whole lot of people who will continue to stand up for social good and change this world. So when people ask me nowadays, any company who wants to attract some really amazing young talent, when asked if it's enough just to be profitable in this socially and environmentally conscious new world, the answer is no. Thank you.